Scriptures say that their wisdom is like silver and gold. And the way you get silver and gold is mine it. The way you do it is a lot of hard work. It's easy to not study to show yourself an approved workman. But the one who doesn't should be ashamed of themselves. All right, so we have seen now that there is biography, which is more than half of the Bible. There's prescriptive epistle. There's also Lamentations. And the places you'll see Lamentations are, first of all, wait for it, the book of Lamentations. You'll also see it in Habakkuk, and you'll also see it in some selected Psalms. Okay, so we talked about lamentation. I'd like to move on to legal code and covenant treaty. Now, legal code is, so let's start separating these out. Biography, epistle, lamentation, and then fourth one, legal code. It's technically legal code and covenant treaty. What I mean is the legal section. And there's a significant legal section in the Bible, including 10 chapters out of Exodus 20 to 23, which are 4 chapters, and 6 chapters in Numbers, a total of 10 chapters of civil code of law, a very large portion of the constitutional law that's found in Deuteronomy, and of course Levitical law, which is the criminal code of law. So you've got civil code of law, you've got the constitutional code of law, you've got the criminal code of law. The reason it sounds very much like American law is because biblical law was the foundation of British law, and British law was the foundation of American law. And the biblical law, it was structured in 3 parts, and so is common American law today. The important thing is this. There are 3 different types of legal codes, and you need to understand the difference between them. So I want you to pair off all 3. Somebody give me a definition for civil code. It's found in Exodus and Numbers. What is the definition of civil code? How to get along on the camping trip. That's good, because this is given at the beginning of the Exodus period. What makes us basically a civil people? What is civility? What is basic right and wrong primer for people who are going, I don't know, and they're just trying to take them on a camping trip and stop them from killing each other. And some of it is a little surprising because, frankly, the mildew on your tent will ruin my tent. So there's issues that are more obvious. You know, you don't have to think about it too deeply to realize you put 50,000 people in a camp and there's going to be some toilet issues. Like, you shall not dump your chamber pot in my front yard, okay? There's all kinds of, so you're going to need rules. You can't be a civil society and not have rules. I don't mean to be real base about that, but I'm just trying to help you to think. It's not only important, we think of the Bible's law as this lofty holiness of God thing. A lot of it was keep your poop off my front step. That's really what a lot of it was. Now, I don't mean to be, low, but the point is, we don't think in the earthy tones of the Bible. These people were really living this. They really have to deal with it. If you're making noise after midnight, my baby doesn't sleep. So you're talking about a tent camp in which people who have been slaves for 10 generations are all now going on a 40-year camping trip in an incinerator. It's so hot in the... I take camel trips down into the desert. And I will tell you that you get out there and honestly, 110 in the shade is 130 in the sun, and the shade feels great. It's only 110. You're under the rock going, okay? And then somebody will go, well, it's dry heat. It's 130 degrees. Who cares? I like my heat like cool. That's the kind of heat I like. So the idea that you're going to have dry heat at 130 doesn't matter. I used to have a thermostat in my car, like a little thermometer that read digitally. I pinned the thing at 135. I took it down to the desert, bing, that's it, it's done. And the important thing is this. They're going through the hottest part of anything they've ever experienced. It's hot as blazes. There is no place to hide. They're traveling, they're camping. And by the way, you know what happens in the desert when the sun goes down? There's no clouds. The clouds are what insulate the heat and lock it to the ground. So the heat dissipates off the surface and it drops 40 degrees in a matter of 2 hours. So what happens is at night in the desert, you have a blazing fire and everyone's sitting there and they're red on this side and blue on this side. And so they turn like rotisserie chickens trying to stay warm. You are hot all day. You are freezing cold all night. You don't have a lot of water. How many of you think you'd get on each other's nerves if you were doing that for, say, 40 years? And my point is, having civil code, how to get along, is going to be incredibly important. And much of that law is not going to be, oh, how I revere thee, O Lord. It's going to be, hey, move your tent over there, will you? You're making too much noise. It's going to be very basic law. So, what's mine is mine. You can't steal mine. Thou shalt not steal, because it's mine. These are going to be basic laws that God is going to tailor to the people. All right, 38 and a half years later, there will be constitutional code. The constitutional code is found in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy means what? Deutero, nomos. Nomos is law, second law. In second law, what is the constitutional code? Somebody define that. What makes a Jew a Jew? How do we make a nation out of these 40-year camping people that have come into the land and are kicking out the Canaanites? How do we run a government? How do we make it into a civil society that's now a governmental society? We need a judiciary. We need precedent. We need buildings to put it in. We need town centers. We need to stabilize our society. And so we're going to talk about 15 codes or 15 subsets of the constitutional code. And we're going to talk about those later on. Okay, what's the third one? Criminal. Where do I find it? What's that? Nice and loud. Leviticus. And Leviticus is then, your heart's broke. You violated the holiness of God. You're going to need a goat. Levites, they're going to bring you a goat. Here's what to do with it. And they're going to deal with the Levitical code of law, which is what's going to deal with the broken heart of people. This can also be called holiness law, atonement law. Now, all of these laws, and by the way, the normal, the way I will refer to is Vayikra law. Vayikra. Vayikra is the first words of the book. You understand that when the Bible was in scrolls, before it was in books, they were rolled up, right? And the title of the book is the first couple words. Much of what you read was legal code. But actually, what we're going to do is we're going to divide out the legal code to make it clearer. There's a couple of places in the Bible you're going to use a method that is, it's called splitting the deck. Have you ever needed to take a deck of cards and get all the clubs and all the hearts and all the diamonds and all the spades separated? Have you ever done that? Just maybe in a bored moment you decided to separate out all the clubs, or when you bought it, it came that way? Okay. The places you use this splitting the deck is you use it in the law. You take all the laws that are jumbled together and you split them out to the type of law that it is. Then what we're looking for is the principles behind that law of a changeless God. And we'll do this together and you'll get good at it. And in the process of getting good at it, here's the reason why you do it, because then you learn how God thinks. I need you to understand one thing out of this whole big thing I just said. Only one sentence. God is a judicial thinker. God thinks like a judge. Not like an angry judge, like a judge. God is not easily bamboozled by you going, yeah, but I had a really good reason why I couldn't do it. God understands you completely, but he also knows what is unbendingly true and right. In a way, mathematics reveals the judicial nature of God. Somebody tell me what I just meant by what I said. How does mathematics reveal the judicial nature of God? What's that? I couldn't hear you.
The rules don't change.
The rules don't change. Really, honestly, 1 + 1 is never going to equal 3. It's just not. And you can want it to, and there's times when you can just really want... Well, it can. It can equal 3 if it's a couple and they have a baby. But that's the only time 1 + 1 will equal 3. It could also, 1 + 1 could also equal 1 if you have 2 wads of gum and you put them both in your mouth, and 1 + 1 equals 1. But the rules of math, nevertheless, are always the same. I just confused you. You're all sitting there going, what? Okay, my point is, God is a judicial thinker, and knowing the law is going to help you to understand God and the way he thinks.